meeting to order. If anyone has any questions during the meeting, we ask that you submit them using the method shown on the screen or hold your questions to the designated question period if you're in the audience. The questions will be reviewed then. I hereby call the 120th annual meeting of the Cochrane Cooperative Telephone Company to order. Notice is hereby given that the annual meeting of the Cochrane Cooperative Telephone Company will be held at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025 at the Cochrane-Fountain City School Auditorium located at S2770 State Highway 35, Fountain City, Wisconsin. In addition, this meeting will be streamed live on YouTube. The agenda will consist of financial reports for 2024, manager's report, scholarship drawing, advisory questions, and the director election results. Let the minutes reflect that the quorum is present. Next, we will have the reading of the 119th annual meeting minutes by the current CCT Secretary, Terry Lorenz.
Jewel, would you come forward? No, I'm just kidding.
Like, no.
The 119th annual meeting of the Cochrane Co-op Telephone was held on April 24th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. President of the board, Heidi Lasowski, opened the meeting by reading the notice of meeting of the 119th annual meeting of the Cochrane Cooperative Telephone. Julene read the minutes of the 118th annual meeting. Motion was made and seconded to accept the minutes as read. Motion carried. Heidi introduced the board, including herself, Carson Lentz, Vice President, Julene Rohr, Secretary, Terry Lorenz, and Don Ballone. She then introduced Sean Squires, our CEO. Sean introduced his staff who were in attendance, Matt, Corey, Lisa, and Amanda. Sean went through the service counts from 2016 to 2023, including the Alma area, town of Milton, and the town of Cross. Sean also discussed CCT's consolidated balance sheets and the consolidated operating statement. Sean gave us a 2023 year in review, including the maintenance of old pedestals, grant applications, exploring cloud-based switching, investment rebounds, and credit and debit card payment options. 2024 plan was also discussed, beginning with 4 grant applications, facility upgrades, speed adjustments, pricing adjustments, and affordable connectivity program, which is ending soon. CCT will be looking forward at additional pedestal upgrades and the BEAD program. Sean had some closing thoughts on scammers, streaming services, and a CCT regional tournament called WSTA Fiber Frenzy Gaming. 2024 CCT scholarships were awarded. 2 $1,000 4-year school to J.C. Lasowski and Savannah Faust. 2 $500 2-year school to Addison Lacey and Isabel Holzer. Bylaws revisions were discussed. Changes will be put in place per the vote of 282 yes to 32 no. Board of Director election results: Terry Lorenz 161, Bruce Burmeister 104, Jeff Hofer 80. Drawing for the $50 bill credits virtual was Kevin Adler and in-house Vicki Broxton. Sean did a question and answer session as well. Heidi then asked for a motion and second to adjourn. Motion carried. Respectfully submitted, Julene Rohr.
I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as read. Got one? Do we have a second? All right, we have a second. I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as read. For those appearing virtually, click on the link in the comments to vote. We will need your voting code to verify identity and votes. All those in favor signify as saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We will wait a few minutes for the virtual votes to come in. The live voting is on the screen along with the time remaining to vote. Oh, I thought that was music, Sean.
And the time will not appear.
Okay.
It's online.
I thought computers were supposed to be fast.
Yeah.
How long do we wait?
There's 15 seconds left.
There's 15 seconds left, so just be patient. Okay. The minutes of the 119th annual meeting are approved. At this time, I would like to introduce the Cochrane Cooperative Telephone Company Board of Directors. I am Heidi Lasowski, the president. We have Carson Lentz, vice president. Terry Lorenz, secretary. Don Balone, director. And Bruce Burmeister, director. All right. And now I would like to introduce Sean Squires, the CEO of Cochrane Telephone.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. It's a great turnout again. Before I start into my portion of the presentation, I did leave up the board members up on the screen for a special reason. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge an individual who's no longer up on that list. She did submit her retirement to the board earlier this fall. So she has officially retired as of the end of the year. So she ended December 31st, 2024, and that would be Jewel Rohr. So Jewel, if you could please stand up. For those who don't know, Jewel was elected to the board in March of 1994, so that means she had 30 years of service on the Cochrane Telephone Board. And I'm sure if you want to have her reminisce about some of the things that she has seen and that she has been part of in many of the decisions that were made that got us to where we are today. She was a wealth of information for you. So thanks again, Jewel. You are officially now relieved of all your duties. Let's see here. So, I'll take this opportunity to introduce the staff of Cochrane Telephone. A lot of you know them already. However, we do have a fresh face this year. So we'll go down the list, and at the end, we'll talk a little bit about why we brought on an additional employee. So, first and foremost, Matt Biesterfeld is our plant manager. Matt has been serving since 1997, so a very well dedicated employee who's not going to retire for about another 10 years, I think. Now watch. Tomorrow I'll get the retirement note. Corey Hansen is not able to be with us today. He was off today, so I did not want to make him come here just because. Next we have Jason Marquardt, combination technician. He's one that you'll probably see at your homes if you ever have any issues. Tyler Meyer, combination technician. If you'll take note on the screen, Tyler is our newest employee. We brought him on in August of last year. He's kind of picked it up quite rapidly. You know, this is not something where you can just come into and you know, think you know everything. So he's done a great job of picking it up as fast as he can. In the back, we have Lisa Bramer. She's our office manager, feverishly taking down notes, it looks like. And then Amanda Potsner over here, customer service representative. She's the one who mostly answers all of your phone calls when you call in. So now you guys got a face with a name. I just want to briefly talk about Tyler again. With the knowing that we were going to be building into the 4 municipalities of the town of Wamandee, town of Montana, town of Buffalo, and then the far southern part of the city of Fountain City, and knowing what that was all going to entail, we felt it necessary to expand. We haven't had any expansion for quite a few years in Cochrane Telephone's history. In fact, the last time was more of a reduction. And that was before we did all of the large build-outs that we've been accomplishing over the last almost 10 years. So Tyler's got some big shoes to fill as far as getting up to speed on everything, but he's, like I said, he's doing a fabulous job, very hard worker. And Tyler, I also got another complaint on you again today, so we'll be discussing that tomorrow. By the way, Tyler does not have any complaints. They are exemplary service. People have been calling in regarding how professional he is when he goes to their homes, and they feel it necessary to let us know what level of service he's providing everyone. So, again, thank you, Tyler. Next, we'll go into some of the financial statements. These are the inserts on your handouts, so feel free to either look at the screen or utilize them in your handouts. I do have them highlighted on the screen, a couple of areas that I'd like to discuss. So first and foremost, we'll start off with the first 2 highlighted areas. It's the cash and cash equivalents, and then our certificates of deposit. You'll notice that there is a substantial reduction from 23 into 24, and about $1.8 million that would be. And that is the cash that we had used for our build-outs in those 4 areas that I had mentioned. The next highlighted field is the accounts receivable other, and you'll see a substantial increase from 23 to 24. And that is all of the municipalities. As part of our build-out, I gave them the opportunity to either pay their portion of their project in 24 or in 2025. Different municipalities chose different options, so we have to record that as a receivable until it's actually fully received. Now, most municipalities chose to utilize the 2025 budget year to make their payment, so that is why you're seeing that substantial amount shown as outstanding at the end of the year. And then the bottom one there that says plant under construction. So as far as in telecom accounting, until a project is fully put into service, it has to sit into an account that's called plant under construction. So any work that's being done, until it is fully completed, it has to be put into there and then eventually moved to the plant into service. So we were not done with the town of Buffalo and the city of Fountain City yet as of the December 31st closing of last year. So the amount that's shown there is the amount of work that has been done on those 2 particular areas. So you know, that $4.1 million that's sitting there will eventually actually it's gonna occur in our March 31st journal entries. It's gonna be reflected back in the telecommunications plant and service. As far as the operating statement goes, this is the one that I usually like to spend a lot more time on. However, last year was actually relatively boring, unfortunately, which, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped ahead. Just that shows how excited I am about looking at the operating statement. No, the other half of the balance sheet is showing up there on your screen right now. Just two highlighted areas to make note of. You'll notice that there is something that's kind of unusual. It's outstanding checks in excess of bank balance. So what ended up happening is we were working on transferring some of our investments that we had set aside for the build out. And I had a substantial bill, that is one bill that we received, that $1 million there. That investment was supposed to be brought in before the end of the year. However, that payment did not arrive until January 6th. However, I had the check already wrote to be issued as of December 31st. So unfortunately, it actually shows us technically that we were in the negative in our checking account. However, because the check was not mailed, you know, it's not reflective as a bounced check per se. So it's just one of those timing issues that happened that caused this particular entry. It will be on next year's financial statements as well. However, it'll show a zero. It's kind of a unique thing that I had to work with the auditor on and explain it to them as well. The other item of note is the deferred revenue, and there's a substantial increase there as well. And for those of you that were here last year, you may have heard me mention this, but I wanted to make sure I reiterate it again this year, is that you know, due to accounting principles, we are required to acknowledge all grant revenues as a deferred revenue. And that would be the state payment that we get from the grants, and then as well as all the municipality payments. And those have to be shown as deferred for the life of the asset. So, for example, a fiber optic line project, such as what we've been working on, the typical lifespan for our depreciation period, because that's what it offsets, is basically your depreciation expense. That time frame is around the 15 to 20 year mark. It varies on some pieces of equipment and so on and so forth. So in a roundabout way, we'll just say about 18 years. So in 18 years, that will eventually go down to zero. But we can't show it all as acknowledging revenue when it is received. So now we can get to the operating statement. And again, you know, I usually have about 4 or 5 lines that are highlighted here because of their particular things that have happened in them, or there's some items to note in there. But unfortunately in 2024, there's really not much. The only thing that has really kind of item of note would be that just our total operating expenses has gone up, and I know in most of your own lives and your groceries and your fuel and so on and so forth, all of those costs have been higher for you, and that's no difference for us as well. So that's the only kind of item really to really note, is that you know, all of our expenses were up just over 2023, and they're seeing that across the board in all of our industry. The other item to note, I don't have it on here, but just an item to note for next year, especially if you really like to compare some of these numbers. You'll know that our depreciation will be up considerably next year, just because of the 4 additional project areas that we're bringing on. So if you look at those, just be aware that that depreciation expense is going to be quite a bit higher next year. And then we'll jump right down to the bottom line. Our net margin for 2024 was $712,800. Quite a bit lower than in 2023, but 2023 was kind of like an abnormal year. And I know that a lot of you are probably thinking, wow, that's a sizable chunk to end the year with. And I actually have some slides that was presented as part of our board's review of our audited financials. And this is done by the actual audit firm itself. So what I have up on the screen right now are the operating income as a percent of operating revenue. And you'll see there's a column A, a column B, and a column C. Column A represents 157 companies that are audit firm, which is Forvis. They put that all as one area, and then now compare and then utilize that average, and that's what we get compared to. Column B, which is all of their co-ops, which represents 66 cooperatives that they do audits for. And then in column C is similar sized companies. So we're in the 2.5 to 5.0 million dollar range. And as you can see, in 2023, our percentage was basically off the charts. And I did have a member contact us in regards to the size of our net margin for last year. And, I did thank them for reaching out with their question. But that's why I wanted to really show this to the membership this year, so that it's kind of clear that last year was an anomaly, and now when you look at 2024's numbers, we're basically in line with all of the 157 cooperatives, 157 companies, 66 cooperatives, and the 29 similar sized companies. So we're right industry-wide where we should be as far as that ratio. And then the other one that I have up on the screen is our ratio of our payroll expenses as a percent of our operating expenses. And what that's showing is how much of your payroll is attributing to your overall expenses. And again, when you look at where our peers are, both in all together and the co-ops specifically, and then also just the similar sized companies, they're all in the 21% range. And as you can see, the last 2 years, we're in the low 17s. So there's kind of two reasons that can cause that. First and foremost, it's attributed to the workforce size. And similar sized companies might have more employees. I know, not to bring up Jewel again because I said she was done, but she used to use always the quote that we're a lean and mean organization. And that is really true. The employees that I mentioned earlier, they take a lot of pride in the work that they do. And, they're busy nonstop after hours. They're on call, obviously, too. So it just shows to their level of, they're basically working hard with the workforce that we have. And then the other component that can cause that ratio to be lower is that we pay our employees less. Now, that is probably maybe like 1 or 2% true. We do probably, across the board, we probably are a little bit lower than, say, some of our competitors in what we pay. But again, we're a small cooperative, and we try to keep our costs down as best as we can. But we take into account our employees and make sure that we treat them well, and I feel that shows. So I just wanted to make sure that especially with bringing on a new employee, some people might say, well, is that going to cause your overall expenses to rise? How do you rate with like-sized companies and so on? So as you can see, it's a really clear point, and we monitor this every year. This is just 2 slides of probably about 30 that we go through as part of our audit review. For those of you that don't want to get into the financial numbers, I decided to kind of spin it in a little different way this year, just to help explain in a visualization of where does your dollars go when you make your payment to us. And I don't know if you guys saw when you came in, the average residential bill is about just a touch over $100. So it's no coincidence that I put a $100 bill up there. So the majority of your dollars, where they go on their monthly bill, 35% goes to the plant operations side. And the best way to explain that is all the blinking lights, if you came to our office, all those little blinking lights that are on all the equipment, that's what makes those lights actually blink in a roundabout way. Then the depreciation, which accounts for almost 23%. And then corporate operations accounts for just about 21%. And to explain that a little bit more, that would be the company's insurance, accounting activities, auditing. Auditing is not cheap, unfortunately. Consulting, we have to rely on a lot of consultants to assist us in a lot of the federal reporting that we are required to do. Then there you have your HR costs and legal costs, and then billing services are included in there as well as the board expense. And then in addition to that, a lot of salaries are in there as well. And then, like I said, yeah, the board expenses. Next slice is our customer operations, which is about 5%. And again, that's basically your marketing, your advertising, just general customer service based expenses. And then taxes, one thing that benefits us is we are a cooperative, so we do get some tax breaks, but our taxes account for about 3.8%. And then what's left over is the margin, which according to last year is 12.5%. And again, what that gets used for is it gets recycled back into maintaining equipment, which we will get into a little bit later, planning for future build outs. Let's see here, capital credits. That would be another important item as well. So I just wanted to include this visualization because sometimes we get a little bit too concerned about the actual numbers and did they go up, did they go down? So I wanted to create a visualization this year. And if this looks familiar, I actually, if you want to call it, stole it from what Riverland Energy did last year. They did the exact same thing to their membership. So thanks to Riverland Energy, if anybody is working with them. But it was a really great visualization. That's why I wanted to include it this year. As far as our service counts go, I have the last 10 years up there. And 2024, we ended with 1,746 broadband customers. And that is an 8.5% increase over 2023. And I strictly focus on broadband because that is truly, it's not that we're not a telephone company anymore because we still do provide telephone service, but we are really a broadband company and providing those broadband services to your homes. And also, if you walked in and saw that slide, there was about 1,850 members roughly, and of those, 95% of our members now have broadband access. So just kind of a little tidbit of information. Kind of do like a year in review here. As I had mentioned previously, we do have the grant awards for the town of Wamandee, Montana, and Buffalo, and then the southern portion of the city of Fountain City. That is actively underway. We just kicked it off again after winter to finish up all the work that needs to be done on those particular projects. The Wamedy and Montana projects were done last fall, and all those customers have been hooked up. We did set targets for both of those municipalities, and we have met both of those targets. If you get the opportunity to speak with any of those individuals that are from those areas, I know they were very excited. Not to kind of go too far off course here, but I will tell you the story. There was an individual that came to our kickoff meeting, and she was a senior at Arcadia High School, and that is one thing that she had wanted, was for her senior year to be able to have internet, quality internet service, so that she could apply for colleges, finish up any kind of papers or things along those lines, because she said it had been a struggle. So that was actually one of the first ones that we actually hooked up for that very purpose, and we did get her hooked up before she started her senior year of college, or I'm sorry, of high school. So now, hopefully she will move on to go to a college and succeed in life. But I want to just share that because that's how important the broadband service is to a lot of these municipalities that we are building into nowadays. Now, a lot of us, we've been used to it, especially those in the Cochrane and Buffalo City and Wamedy area. We've been benefiting from all of those quality services, since it was brought to our area initially. So just wanted to share that little piece of information. You had heard in the minutes regarding the cloud-based switching. That transition is almost completed. It has been an uphill battle, wouldn't you say, Matt? It's just newer technology that's out there. It is the wave of the future of where voice service will be going to, rather than all these companies having this big, massive piece of equipment in their offices to operate telephone service. We now do it over basically the cloud, and can operate, getting the calls, when you pick up the phone and dial the number. I know there's some younger individuals here. This is an actual phone that you actually pick up, not one of these little things here. Yeah, so, and the reason why we made this switch is simply because cost savings, the decline in telephone numbers, and we foresee that to continue, and then most of all, educational purposes. You don't have to maintain that same level of education that you would on equipment that if you had it in-house. There's various, code and scripts and processes that you have to know the ins and outs of to make your calls get routed correctly. So by passing that and utilizing a third-party service, we feel that it is the best going forward. The other thing that I wanted to mention was the speed adjustments that we did. This was for the internet-only accounts in the 248 and 626 area. And that, if you guys recall, we did that. We bumped you from a 50 to 100 with no price increase. And that's simply to make everything a little bit more fair. That's one thing that I know it was difficult always to see, if you put a 50 plan in the Cochrane-Buffalo City area against a 50 plan in the town of Cross, there was a sizable difference in the pricing of that. And that all gets way into regulatory stuff. If you want, we can sit down and have that discussion. But I'm telling you, it's kind of boring because it's all regulatory stuff. So what we did is we increased the speed at the same price. So basically, everyone is now paying the same in general per megabit of speed. So I feel that now everyone's on an even playing field. The next item I wanted to mention is the Universal Service Fund. And up on the screen, I do have a sample of a bill of what many of you that have phone service see. You see that line that says Federal Universal Service Charge. That was enacted in 1996 as part of the Telecommunications Act of 1996. And what it does, it actually benefits us in that we receive financial support through the FCC, which helps offset our high cost of deploying broadband into rural areas. USF does play a crucial role in ensuring affordable and reliable broadband service to the underserved communities. And that would be for healthcare, education, and emergency communications. Recently, there was a group, it's called Consumers Research, who has kind of drawn attention to this fund and has really questioned this funding mechanism. Is it legal what they're doing? Because it's administered by a third-party agency, which is, then it gets into, is it a tax? Is it a fee? So there was a lot of back and forth, and obviously this ended up in the courts. So the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, the Fifth, the Sixth, and the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals have all heard this case. The Fifth and the Sixth, the Sixth and the 11th, have ruled in favor of the FCC, deeming that this charge is a legitimate charge. It is authorized by Congress. There's nothing wrong with how it's being implemented. So everything is good to go. However, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled in favor of Consumers Research. And because of that split amongst the Circuit Court of Appeals, the Supreme Court has taken this case now. The oral arguments were completed on March 24th, and a decision is expected this summer. We're thinking sometime in June. So all this legal terminology and this fee, which is, as you can see on a normal bill, is just a couple dollars. So what impact does that have on you, and why is it something that should be addressed here? Well, the reason why is if the USF fund goes away, your average bill would be going up 25 to 30%. That's how important this fund is for us. So, it kind of makes us whole for providing the broadband services to each and every one of you. The next item is, many of you probably were made aware, this is a sensitive subject for not only myself, the board, and the employees, but we did succumb to a cyber event. It was on March 3rd around 3 a.m. Matt got the phone call first, and then I got the phone call. Not a phone call that you want to get at 3 o'clock in the morning, but we were notified that our monitoring services that we have in place as part of our cybersecurity program detected suspicious activity on our network. That activity was immediately, and I say immediately, within reason, it was closed out and made sure that they were not able to re-engage in our network or do anything else outside of that, or try and interrupt services or anything along those lines. So what ended up happening is they were in our network for 25 minutes is all, which I know doesn't seem like a lot, but when you hear a lot of the stories where a lot of these hackers and bad actors will sit in networks for sometimes months at a time without even being detected. So to be detected within 25 minutes is shows the level of commitment I feel that we did to not just, hey, we're Cochrane Telephone, we're so small, nobody's going to attack us. We have all the measures in place. So in all told, there were 7 accounts that did have some compromised banking information. And the only reason why we had that information is because they were transitioning, so we just happened to have their information on hand. But it was nothing that was more than what you would find on your check. So it was just strictly just an account number and routing number. All those individuals have been contacted. In addition to that, we also had some call records, as you heard me mention, in regards to the cloud switching project that we're doing. We had a lot of call records that we've been combing through to make sure that they're billing properly and things along those lines. So that is why we had those in our network. We typically do not have them in our network, but those were accessed. And then in addition to that, we also had some information regarding services for some of our Alma and Milton customers when they were brought on as part of their build projects. So all those pieces of information constitutes what is considered customer proprietary network information, or CPNI, which the FCC has strict rules about how that gets and who accesses it. And because there was unauthorized viewing of it, that we had to notify our customers who were all affected, and there was 740 of you. So just to kind of explain that a little bit more into detail so you guys understand what truly happened there. You know, it was something that we did not take lightly, nor have we taken it lightly since. We have tightened up some of our security measures. We did have a full analysis done of some areas where we could strengthen. There's not much as far as, you know, like high dollar investments or things like that we have to do to our network. It's just basically fine tuning what we did. And one of the things is being able to shut these, should it happen again, which we hope it doesn't, but should it happen again, the time frame for them to be able to do something will be even shorter. We think we could probably have that down to maybe a minute, if that, before the monitoring stuff would find them. So all in all, I just wanted to just bring that up and just kind of highlight that event and just address it with everyone here. In addition, many of you have probably experienced some of the network outages that we've had. Unfortunately, that too is not something that we take lightly. We do strive, Matt uses this term quite a bit, is the 5 nines rule, which is basically 99.99999%. I think that's 5. So basically, very, very, very minimal downtime. And that's what we strive for, is to keep the 5 nines going. And lately that has not been the case with us. So for those of you that saw the mission statement on your way in, you know, just to kind of highlight the one sentence that we take the most serious there, is that we're the rural provider admired for its product, service, and performance. And the performance side is where we've kind of been having some issues. So just know that not only as the board, myself, and employees, we take that serious. We're taking steps to alleviate some of the issues that may have caused some of these, but unfortunately, there are some situations that are just unavoidable, like what I have up on the screen. This was a piece of fiber. It's, what would you say, Matt, about 20 feet, 25 feet is what you have?
That's what we done, yeah.
Yeah. So Matt has a piece about 25 feet in length that he took back as a souvenir. So this is a fiber strand. It's a 48 fiber that went, it was just south of Cochrane actually. And as you can see, there's not much left of it. And that's not just because of wear and tear, erosion, things like that. That is the result of a four-legged critter, we'll just call them. We don't know if it's mice, if it's woodchucks, if it's whatever it may be, but something that has teeth that loves to chew, and chew they certainly did. So we take, again, all precautions that we can. This particular piece of fiber was hardened, meaning that there is a shielding of metal that encased it, and as you can see, that's even gone. So they actually have chewed through the actual metal, and then went in so far as to, I would say there's maybe one strand of fiber in there, and that was all cut up too. So what they do with it, we don't know. They make nests. Obviously, if it's mice and that, they have to keep chewing on things, otherwise their teeth will get too long. So needless to say, you know, we are striving to make sure that we minimize as much of the preventable stuff when it comes to our network as possible. As far as plans for moving forward, facility upgrades. Many of you have probably seen our new roof on our building. That was definitely needed. We did have a warranty, a lifetime warranty on our roof. However, we were noticing that we were having them come back and repair leaks more and more frequently, and all it's going to take is one drop of water to end up in the wrong spot, and that warranty really does us no good. So we, as a board, we discussed it in length and felt it was necessary to put a pitched roof on our building. So that project has been completed. It was just recently completed. They did have some steel shortages, so that's why it took a little bit longer. Also, in addition, we have some other just general maintenance repairs in our facilities, just to kind of make sure that our buildings maintain, you know, their integrity and so on. Network upgrades, you heard me mention about being 99% up, so that will involve some equipment upgrades, which are probably due anyway. You know, just kind of keeping up with the maintenance on that. We did also have a consultant come in and has reviewed our network to help us find efficiencies and so on and so forth, just to make sure that we're operating it in full capacity. And then in addition to that, we have some fiber projects that we'll be working on, not related to any of the grant projects. You know, a lot of those are the result of a lot of the new homes that have been going up in the Cochrane, Buffalo City area. And when our original network was laid out, we're not planning for homes to be built in, you know, a lot of these farm fields and things along those lines, which has caused us to have some fiber shortages. So we want to make sure that our fiber network is up to you know, quality standards for basically the next 15 to 20 years. So we'll be working on those. And then the BEAD program, again, you had heard that in the minutes. We did submit for 3 applications, 2 really short little sections, one in the Fountain City area, one in the Herald area, and then we also did submit for a bigger project, and that would be basically doing an expansion project in the town of Dodge and a little slice of the town of Trempealeau. It is probably very unlikely that we will get them because we came in with our bottom dollar possible. We did not put a lot of resources into you know, making these applications that we would have done, such as like what we did with the town of Buffalo or things like that. So announcements were supposed to be done, well, let's see here. The first time should have been 2 weeks ago. Then we heard last week. Now we're hearing in 2 weeks. So we don't know when we're going to hear on this. It is a multiple step process. Just because you pass round 1 doesn't mean that you're going to make it through round 2 and so on and so forth. So But that is something that we have applied for. And then last but not least, this is something to kind of discuss as well with everyone, just to kind of be transparent. The MWT.net and the CCTcoop.com email accounts, I know a lot of people in this room probably utilize those. Some may not even know what we're talking about, but we stopped issuing email accounts for quite a few years now. Email service, there's so many free services out there that everyone's utilizing, Gmail accounts and so on. And our hosting provider basically has committed maintaining this email service for not only us, but also for 31 other companies that are in Wisconsin here through September of 2026. And that's when one of their big licenses expire. We have not made a decision yet if we are going to end email service or not. But it is something to kind of consider, especially if you utilize your MWT or the CCT Coop email. If you utilize that a lot, you may want to start thinking about what would happen if that service does go away. And again, that's simply just because of the decline in users. Last but not least, this was a slide that when you came in that I had up on the screen. This is a couple things that I wanted to just point out real quick. The 4.75 subscribers per mile, that's kind of, just shows how rural we are. So, and then the average daily bandwidth peak that we see is about 6.5 gigabits per second. And the item on the bottom there, the highest bandwidth use was 9.2 gigabits per second on December 5th. 2024. Does anybody know what occurred on that particular day and why there was so much internet use? Daryl, you know.
I don't.
That was the actual day that the Packers played the Lions. So you can see how important how important that internet service is and how much of a peak you see versus a normal day when something significant is streamed. I know there was that big fight that was streamed a few months ago that put a lot of strain on not only our network but then also all of our partners as well. There was a big peak that particular day, but obviously we don't have people that are interested in fights. We have people that are interested in Packer football. So just to kind of wrap up, you heard it in the minutes. I'm going to hammer it again. Just stay vigilant with your emails that you get. And these actors, not that ours was not a clicking on a bad email or anything like that, but these bad actors are getting really creative with their emails, and they're getting harder and harder to detect. But just make sure you stay vigilant with your emails. One other item to note is that you had heard about our network upgrades and maintaining that. We do have kind of a on the radar for a lot of customer premise equipment to be replaced. In not only Cochrane, Buffalo City, Elma, and Milton, kind of looking at around 2028 for that. So a lot of that technology obviously fades really fast. So we're trying to stay on top of it as best as we can. Obviously, you can't replace it as soon as you put it in. So got to kind of at least let it run its course. And then last but not least, I know we get a fair amount of calls from people in regards to robocalls. I really wish that there was a way that we could stop them. I'm not exempt from that issue either. I get them as well. Just ignore them, turn off your phone, block them. There's so many different ways that they work around things. And bottom line is that the federal government does have some robocalling stuff in place. However, you know, until they really crack down on a lot of the big providers, you know, we're not going to see an end to this, because that's where a lot of those calls are coming through, is through those big providers. And unfortunately, by the time they get to us, there's no way for us to say, all right, block all this from being going through to your particular devices. So with that, who wants to give away some free money? Yeah. Okay, there we go.
You're like, what?
I don't know if it was a controller issue or operator error. So we did decide to do 4 scholarships again this year. 2 $1,000 scholarships for a 4-year school, and 2 $500 scholarships for a 2-year school or a trade program. First and foremost, the question that was asked. It's up on the screen, but I'll also read it. So, cooperatives across the country are seeing fewer and fewer younger individuals actively participating in cooperatives, such as attending annual meetings, running for board positions, and voting on critical questions. If tasked with solving this issue, what do you feel cooperatives could do better to reach, educate, support, serve its younger members in our community? Little do those applicants know that we are going to utilize a lot of their information as part of our ongoing process to help you know, engage the younger individuals. So I want to thank each and every one of our applicants. We did have a total of 4 applicants for the 4-year and 4 applicants for the 2 and trade program. So I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to complete your applications, and they were great reads. So we look forward to utilizing some of the information that you included in those in our ongoing efforts. So with that being said, we will start with our 4-year schooling. That's 2-year, right? Okay, we can start with the 2-year, sorry. Okay, we'll go with 4 years. If your name is selected, and we just do it random drawing, we don't score any of the applications or anything like that. If your name is selected, I would like you to come up here and just say a few words. Tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe some activities that you're into, what your post-high school plans are, just so the membership knows, you know, a little bit about you, and that way then you can, you know, put a name with a face again. So with that being said, I guess we can start with the first drawing. Wow, right on the line. All right, Finley, are you here? All right, I know I've put you on the spot. Congratulations.
Hi everybody, my name is Finley Knoll. This is kind of loud. I attend Alma High School and I participate all year round in sports like cross country basketball and track and field. And my plans for next year, I'm attending UW River Falls for agricultural business. I'm also running track and field there, so I'm super excited about that. Some community events I do are participate in things like the blood drive and community cleanup. So I like contributing to the community as well. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And the other drawing. All right. Is Olivia here? Okay.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I go to CFC here, and I am also active in cross country and track like Finley is. I'm also an active member in our FFA and our math team. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll start with our 2-year drawings. I can't see if that's on. Oh, there it goes.
Corbin.
All right, Corbett. Congratulations.
Hi everyone, I'm Corbin Weber. I'm from CFC. I'm involved in different extracurriculars like FFA, Student Council, and Teen Court. And I'm attending Western Technical College for Liberal Arts to get my gen eds, and then I'll transfer to UW La Crosse for psychology.
All right, and the final drawing. Oh, that one's pretty clear. Aubrey?
Yes.
All right. Congratulations.
Hi everyone, I'm Aubrey Smith. I go here, Cochrane-Fountain City. I am involved in FBLA and FFA, and I do 3 sports all year round: volleyball, basketball, and softball. I did not get to play volleyball this year because of my meniscus tear. I was recovering from that. I am going to Minnesota State College or Southeast for cosmetology. Thank you.
All right, next is the 2025 ballot. I want to thank every one of you who participated in the ballot process. We did have, 2 questions on there. One was the director question, and then also the advisory question. So, let's see here. Just to kind of summarize, the notice was published in the Buffalo County News during the course of February. We also included a bill message on the February billing statement. And then on March 10th, we did not have any applicants other than Bruce, who was the incumbent that showed interest in applying. So he was selected by the nomination committee to be able to run. And I believe the voting results have been tabulated. So at this time, I would ask that someone from the nomination committee bring the total votes. I'll meet you halfway. Perfect. And just so everyone knows, the nomination committee does all of the ballot counting, so they get a handful of ballots to count. So it says, we the 2025 nominating committee do hereby certify that the ballots have been reviewed and counted and have agreed to the number of ballots cast for each person listed below, which there was only one individual running this year, and that was Bruce Burmeister, who received 272 votes. So congratulations, Bruce. So Bruce will be elected to a 5-year term, and just want to stress to anyone in the audience here or those that are attending virtually that if you are showing any interest in being, either on the nominating committee or showing any interest in running for the board, feel free to reach out to any of the board members, myself. We'll explain the whole entire process to you, what it looks like to be a board member, things along those lines. We're also going to be utilizing, again, some of the information from those wonderful scholarship applications to probably put together some kind of a YouTube video, with each board member kind of talking about what they like most about being a board member, what they like least about it, just so that everyone kind of gets a good feel of what it's like to be a board member. And again, for those of you that are younger individuals, if you guys choose to come back to our area after your studies, just because I know there's a fair number of them have already came back, show some interest in possibly considering running to be part of this, exciting and challenging opportunity. So that kind of brings us to the other question that was on the ballot, which is, would you support having future annual meetings such as this only being held by live streaming broadcast? So that would mean no longer being in person. And if members were allowed to still participate and receive community dollars for their attendance. And again, this is just advisory, so this is something that the board will consider. There is a lot of companies in our industry that go both ways, some that are totally against any kind of a virtual option, and those that have went all the way virtual. If you guys know anybody that's in TCC or Tri-County Communications area, which would be the Strom, Arcadia, Independence, that area, they have went to 100% virtual meeting. So we're not doing it to copy them or anything like that. It's just kind of the wave of the industry, and these are kind of lacking in attendance and things along those lines, which, we still have a great attendance. But yeah, so this is just strictly just an advisory question. So same results here. So we, the 2025 nominating committee, do hereby certify that the ballots have been reviewed and counted and have agreed that the number of ballots cast for each response listed below regarding the advisory vote. We had 129 yes and 143 no. So very close, which is not what I was expecting. I was expecting it to be kind of lopsided with a no, just because I know there's a lot of people that really do enjoy coming to this, getting to see people that they may only see at this particular meeting, or maybe at like the Riverland Energy meeting or things along those lines. So, the board will take this information under consideration and decide what we kind of do moving forward. And at this time, we will attempt, and I say attempt, to do our attendance drawings. We did have some technological issues as part of our process of inputting these in. We won't go into any details, but it's just going to take me just a few minutes just to input all of the names for both of these, and then we'll do the drawings. So if anybody's got any good music to play while we wait, it'll be just a few moments. All right, technology is wonderful. I'm gonna take this off, and I'm gonna ask Heidi for a number between 2 and 59. This would be for our, this would be the in-person drawing for $50 bill credit.
37.
37. Steve Speltz. So congratulations, Steve. All right. And a number, this is $50 for the virtual attendees. A number between 2 and 24.
14.
Patricia Baker. So congratulations, Patricia. And get that back. All right. And with that, I will open it up to any questions that anybody has. If you are either in person or virtual, feel free to send me a text to the number that's up there on the screen. And if you have any questions, we can answer them for those that are in the attendance here, and then also on the live chat. So if there's anybody that is virtual that would be wanting to submit a question in the live chat, we can do that as well. So at this time, is there anybody that has any questions in the audience? Okay, we'll just give it a few moments for the virtual questions. We did have a comment, and it says that our employees are the best. So I thank that individual for that comment. So we'll see if there's anything else that comes in. Otherwise, feel free, if anybody ever has any questions or anything, I'm always available. Feel free to stop in, call, email. If you are interested in a business card or whatever, so you have my contact information, I do have them down front here. We'll make sure that those are available if anybody is interested. Other than that, I will turn it back over to Heidi.
Being that there's no further business, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion? Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? I hereby adjourn the 120th annual meeting of the Cochrane Cooperative Telephone Company. Thank you, you guys drive safe.